allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Item number A is the roll call. Let the record reflect that we have all 5 commissioners present this evening. Item number B is approval of the minutes of the regular Planning Commission meeting of July 25th, 2023. A motion would be in order.
Move to approve.
Moved Commissioner Brecker.
I'll second it.
Second Commissioner Laurie. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any noes? Motion carries 5 ayes. Item number C, written communications. Any additional written communications tonight? Any additional written communications?
None this evening.
Okay, thank you. Item number D is oral communications. For members of the public, they're invited to address the Planning Commission on any item that is not listed on the agenda. Public comments are generally limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Please note that the state law prohibits the Commission from acting on non-agenda items. Is there anyone here that wants to speak on something other than the environmental impact report for this evening, item number E1? So, under oral communications? Yes. Come forward and please state your name for the recorder.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Janice O'Kale, and I live on Hazelnut in Newark. And I'd like to talk to you tonight about climate change. As you have all been seeing all the way around the globe, climate change is impacting us. And the leading climate researchers have said that the impacts that they predicted as carbon emissions grew, and we got to a 1.5% centigrade increase, have been right in line with what they thought. But the impacts of what we're seeing are far greater. The fires are more ferocious, the duration is longer. The heat domes set over the continents and don't move. The ice sheets in Greenland and the Arctic are melting faster than they predicted. In Newark, 3 years ago, we were shrouded in wildfire smoke from the 3 complex fires burning in the Santa Cruz Mountains, burning in the Mount Hamilton Range, and burning up north. Last year, we had approximately 20 atmospheric rivers hit us, which luckily brought us lots of water, but at the same time, my street, Hazelnut, flooded. The street flooded up over the sidewalks and into the beginning of the front yards. For multiple weeks afterwards, you could see the groundwater bubbling up through the cracks in the sidewalks and through utility boxes all along the street. And so I'm just really concerned. I also attended last week, or maybe, yes, last week, the Tri-Cities local hazard mitigation plan that you're working on cooperatively with the 4 other jurisdictions. And, you know, recognize that there are about $18 billion worth in assessed value of property within the Tri-Cities area alone, potentially at risk from multiple hazards. And there were some gasps in the meeting last week, and I just realized that we're not working hard enough. So I just came to you tonight as a resident to say that I think, I wish, I hope, that every conversation that you have and that every decision that you influence and every decision that you make in your personal and professional lives, you put the climate first, and you think about what we can do as a city, what we can do as individuals to begin to mitigate this risk, because it's happening faster than anyone had predicted. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else to comment on anything other than the environmental impact report for Maori Village? Seeing not, we'll close the oral communications portion of the meeting, and we'll go to item number E, which is public hearings. Public hearing to receive public comments for the notice of availability for a draft environmental impact report for the Maori Village subdivision project located southwest of Maori Avenue intersection, including 3 parcels, APN 537-0850-001-11, 537-088-001-13, and 537-08350-00200. Okay, very good. So that's what the purpose of this meeting is just to receive public comments on the environmental impact report. And item number F is staff reports.
Thank you, Chairman. Can we get the PowerPoint slide up, please? Thank you. So as you stated, today we're listening to the Maori Village Project Draft EIR Environmental Impact Report for public comments. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide information on the EIR, its process, any feedback that we may get from the Commission and from the public. We're going to go over the project, quick project overview of the CEQA process and the impacts identified in the EIR, and then we'll receive any public comments. In terms of the project is a 29-acre site. That's 203 single-family homes. It has 4.89 acres of on-site open space. The on-site open space would include 1 acre of common open space consisting of landscaping, bioretention areas, and a pocket park. The pocket park would be located in the rear center area of the project site and would include amenities such as pedestrian path and picnic tables. In terms of history of the site, it's, like we said, the project is located towards the end of Maori Avenue. It's, just past the Solomon Center and the railroad tracks where the existing pick and pull site is. The existing zoning is park. Project is located in areas 3 and 4 specific plan with sub-area D of area 4 intended for a golf course. This was a plan that was developed about 20 years ago. In terms of the project application, it requires a specific plan amendment to change the zoning from park to RS 6000, which would allow it to have the density it needs. In terms of the project site plan, the proposed single-family homes would be located on 3 typical lot sizes that range from 3,375 square feet to 4,000 square feet each. Home would have 2 stories, 2 stories tall, and feature various floor plans with 4 to 5 bedrooms and a 2-car garage. Here's just some elevations of what they're proposing. In terms of architectural style, the various lot sizes would feature new traditional Mediterranean, contemporary Spanish, or farmhouse architectural styles, which are consistent with the specific plan. So now I'll pass it over to our consultant, our environmental consultant, Stantag, and Anna Rednovich and Jennifer Webster are here with us today.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right here. Okay, so I'm going to speak to you about the CEQA and the environmental portion of the project. EIR stands for Environmental Impact Report. CEQA is California Environmental Quality Act. And the point of an EIR is to provide an informational document. It's designed to inform the public and decision makers about potential environmental impacts of a project. It's a problem-solving document that identifies ways to avoid or to lessen impacts, either through mitigation measures or through project alternatives. And environmental impacts are just one of the factors you'll ultimately consider when deciding to approve or deny a project. Next slide, please. So we've obviously established the project is subject to CEQA. An NOP, or Notice of Preparation, was prepared for the project, and it came before the Planning Commission in December of 2021. The EIR was prepared to analyze in detail the potentially significant environmental effects, and the EIR is out for public circulation for 45 days as required. It's from August 2nd, and it'll run through September 18th. Next slide. So what is the purpose of an EIR? The purpose of an EIR is to inform, engage, disclose, and avoid and/or reduce potential impacts. So inform decision makers and the public about a proposed project's potential physical environmental effects, engage the public in the environmental review process, which is why we're here tonight to get feedback from the public and the commissioners, disclose potential impacts of the proposed project, and avoid or reduce potential impacts through the mitigation and/or alternatives mentioned previously. Next slide. Steps in the EIR process. You'll see we're at the second blue box. The NOP was in December, December of 2021. That was through the public scoping hearing that came in front of you. Right now, we're in the second box, project draft EIR, that's DEIR. After comments that are received during this 45-day period, we'll finalize the EIR, that's called the FEIR. And then the FEIR will have a certification hearing and project approval. So you can see what's the difference on this slide outlined in orange are the opportunities for the public to provide comment. Next slide. Topics addressed in the EIR. All 20 environmental resources under CEQA were analyzed in this CEQA document. So you can see the list: aesthetics, ag, air, bio, all the way through utilities and wildfire. Next slide. The draft EIR conclusions. So the next couple slides are going to summarize the conclusions found in our environmental impact report. There was one significant and unavoidable impact that was identified, and it was under the transportation section related to VMT, so vehicle miles traveled. So under the 2020 and 2040 conditions, the average VMT per resident would be 44 to 47% above the threshold. Therefore, it's a significant unavoidable, or SU, impact. Next slide. There were also impacts that were identified that could be reduced with mitigation measures. So you'll see here the main bullets: air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, geology and soils, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, noise, and tribal cultural resources. And then the sub-bullets are kind of going into a little more detail of which aspect of each of those resources is requiring mitigation to reduce the impacts to below less than significant thresholds. Next slide. Excuse me. As mentioned, EIRs, the whole point, or not the whole point, one of the points is try to reduce the impacts, right? And so that's either through the mitigation measures identified in the previous slide or through project alternatives. CEQA does require that alternatives to a proposed project, that they have the potential to avoid or substantially lessen one or more significant effects of the project. So there were 3 alternatives that were considered but rejected. Is the alternative location alternative. This basically means, is there another site in the city that could provide and accommodate this number of units that might be closer to, say, a transit hub to reduce VMT? Restoration alternative. This alternative looked at remediating the site, but then keeping it or using a use that was public open space or recreation. And then a small project alternative. And this would be what project would create or result in a VMT less than the threshold. That was actually, it would be 7 single-family units or 16 or 15, Leslie? Multifamily. 15 or 16, sorry. So those 3 alternatives were considered but rejected. And then next slide. the 4 alternatives that were considered throughout the EIR. So no project alternative. This means that no development would occur. The multifamily residential alternative. This would be 405 multifamily residential units. That's based on the density at the site, allowed at the site. Reduced density alternative, and the 100% affordable housing alternative. Next slide. So alternatives are mentioned in Chapter 5 of the CEQA document. At the end of the evaluation of the alternatives, we identify the environmentally superior alternative. And as you can see here, none of the alternatives considered would eliminate the SU impact to VMT. However, the reduced density alternative is identified as the environmentally superior alternative because it meets all the project objectives and it would not result in a greater impact than the proposed project. Next slide. So how to keep informed, right? So in previous slides where we're talking about the CEQA timeline, there were those orange bullets of when the project would come in front of the public and public could provide comment. You can keep informed by going to the city office. The draft EIR is available at the city offices. It's also currently available online on the city's website as part of the Planning Division webpage under Projects, under Environmental Review. Next slide. And effective commenting. We do want comments on the draft EIR. We encourage the public commissioners to provide comments. We just have found that it's most beneficial if your comments could be focused on, did we miss something in the EIR? Is there a potential impact that you may know about that you feel we missed? Of course, people will have opinions if they like a project or dislike a project, but in terms of CEQA, those are not comments that we will be responding to in the final EIR. So this slide gives the public and commissioners an idea of what would be effective commenting. Next slide, please. And our recommendation, obviously tonight, as Art had mentioned, we're here tonight to have the public hearing, receive public comment on the draft EIR. And just a reminder that no action will actually be taken tonight, but it's an opportunity for members of the public to provide comment on the CEQA analysis. Thank you. Or wait, is there another slide? I think that's it. Thanks.
No, that concludes our presentation, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Very good presentation. Thank you very much. And are there any questions of the staff from the commission? Oh. Okay. Oh, great. So at this time, I will open the public hearing to receive public comments on the draft environmental report. Again, we're not taking any final action on approving land uses here. We're just here to receive comments. And I do have some comment cards that are all filled out by 3 people so far. We do have additional comment cards in the back, and we appreciate it if you could fill that out. That way we can get the name spelled properly. So we do have 3, and there's 2 people that want to be jointly addressed. I guess Tracy Craig and Olinka Villarreal. Could you please come up? State your name for the recorder, please.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. My name is Tracy Craig. I'm actually here on behalf of Evan Knapp, who is one of the partners at Integral Communities, and we wanted to just take the 3, I think it's 3 minutes, right? I practice, so let me have 3 minutes here. I'll do it as fast as I can. Evan unfortunately could not be here tonight, so I'm giving this comment on his behalf. Integral Communities has a long and successful history of building homes in California, with 14,500 homes in California and 2,200 homes in Newark. We're especially excited about Maury Village, which provides housing for the missing middle, and we're willing to offer 15% on-site affordable component, part of which will be targeted for low and very low income individuals. I'd also just like to make a few points to address environmental and safety issues. First, the site does not contain any wetlands and does not have any endangered species. This has been confirmed by the Army Corps of Engineers. In fact, the project site cleans up a polluted piece of property, the Pick and Pull auto salvage yard that operates and puts it to a higher and better use. Newark's general plan authorizes low-density residential up to 8.7 units per acre where the project site is located. Our project proposes an average of 7 units per acre. Pad elevation will be on an average of 2 feet over BCDC guidelines to address anticipated sea level rise. The project will also be all electric. The project will widen both lanes of Maury Avenue, creating a turning lane into Maury Village, add sidewalks and bike lanes, and add a pedestrian walkway to the Silliman Center. EVA access, emergency vehicle access, will be provided through the second separated lane added to Maury, and additional access will be provided through the Sobrato property. I'd also like to summarize some of the benefits that we've been discussing recently with the community in response to community outreach. Fiscally, the project adds close to $1 million annually to the city through net benefits, property tax, and additional sales tax. We have also offered to use the $6.2 million in park fees, plus an additional $1 million to build out 2 city parks in partnership with the Magical Bridge Foundation and Newark resident and BMX rider Nick Valencia. The Magical Bridge would be built at Birch Grove Park and would be the first Magical Bridge Park, All Abilities Park, on the 880 corridor. If you don't know about Magical Bridge, they are an amazing organization that build parks that are thoughtfully designed to meet the physical and social needs of all ages and abilities and offer specialized play equipment that children, adults, and seniors can enjoy. They are truly magical places that could offer Newark a sense of inclusion, connection, and community. We are also planning on building a BMX park to serve youth ages 3 and up. BMX participation, interestingly, has gone up 43.5% in the last several years and offers great physical and mental benefits. Studies have shown that children who bike do better socially and in school. And finally, I'd just like to touch quickly on how we've engaged your community. We have conducted quite a bit of outreach, which includes meeting with environmental groups, briefing various organizations and our neighbors, door-to-door canvassing, and holding an open house. Last Wednesday, in fact, at the Silliman Center. Over 80 people attended our open house last Wednesday, and a large majority were in support of the project, expressing interest in getting on the list to buy homes and in the 2 parks. I have provided information on the open house, and I'm going to give you these packets, that includes the boards that we have, information on Magical Park, our fact sheet, and some other ancillary information for you to look at. I would like to thank you for allowing me to comment, and please feel free to call me if you'd like more information. And I'd also like to thank you for your service to the city of Newark.
Thank you for your comments.
Of course. And can I just give you these, and I have one for you for the back, just information too. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
I appreciate you.
Now, would Olinka Villarreal like to speak? Yes.
Thank you. Mine is not typewritten and quick, so I'll be more casual. Sorry. Good evening, everybody. Good evening in the back. I'm Olenka Villarreal, and I'm the founder of Magical Bridge Foundation, and it is really delightful to be here, especially as I was driving down Newark Boulevard and was greeted by those lovely flags up and down that street that say Newark, we are an inclusive community. And so it is the perfect lead-in, as Tracy so beautifully mentioned. We are a foundation that believes very strongly in the fact that everybody should have a community park, a community playground, and Magical Bridge is that. And we are excited about the possibility of being part of the Newark community, the first in the East Bay, that really honors the physical and the social needs of everybody. And one word that needs to be probably refreshed is the word inclusive, because in our view at Magical Bridge, inclusive means everyone. It means the 1 in 4 of us that have a visible and invisible disability. It means the 1 in 36 now living with autism. And sadly, typical playgrounds do meet the needs legally, but not necessarily of the family. So as you'll see in your packets, within 48 hours of us announcing just on online sources that there's a possibility that with the approval of the Maury Village project, with gratitude to Integral Communities, there's a possibility that Magical Bridge might land in the Newark community. We received over 10,500 of your community members reaching out and expressing enthusiasm and promise of that coming here. So for that, we're very grateful. And we are here at your service. We'd love to be able to give any of you, each of you, a guided tour of any of the playgrounds that we have around the Bay Area. And in addition to the programming that we offer, we believe we would add a little touch of magic to an already magical community. So thank you for having us here.
Thank you very much for your comments. Okay, 2 down, 1 to go. Anybody else wanted to comment? We have Margaret Lewis is next.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here tonight to discuss 2 items that are on the draft EIR, transportation and hydrology. I'm very concerned about the proposed project being in conflict with CEQA guidelines, section 15064.3, subdivision B. It would increase vehicle miles traveled 44 to 47% higher than the citywide average. There would be a significant impact that would exceed existing citywide vehicle miles traveled per capita. The draft EIR identified a mitigation measure, but it would not be adequate to reduce the project-generated vehicle miles traveled. I looked at the alternatives and they considered things like mass transit nearby or people sharing rides or something like that. It didn't seem to be something that would work with this project. I think Newark needs to keep housing within its urban core and not spread out to an area that has no services for the public. There are no schools in this area. There's no shopping. There's no jobs. Everything would have to be driven. People would have to drive. There are other areas in the city where housing could be built. That includes, I think, being planned around Newark Mall. And I believe that traffic impacts need to be looked at cumulatively instead of one project here and one project there. You need to look at the whole city and what your vehicle miles traveled are going to be. Additionally, the railroad crossing at Maury would likely see increased freight and passenger train traffic on the main line between Oakland and San Jose. The Maury crossing can be expected to be blocked when trains are switching and assembling consists in the Newark yards. The current crossing is the only ingress and egress for the proposed development. This is not safe. The other topic is hydrology. Raising the building pads on the proposed development does nothing to prevent the flooding of Maury Avenue west of the railroad tracks. Road drainage designs cannot prevent flooding from sea level rise or high water storm events. Maury Village will be on an island. The levee on Maury Slough does not meet FEMA standards, and it is unclear who will be responsible for levee maintenance. Due to the complexity and unresolved issues surrounding the proposed project, the the comment period should be extended by 30 days to give the public and other agencies time to really look at this draft document. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wanting to comment on this item on Maury Village EIR under E1?
Hello again.
Great.
Jonna Sokale, again, Hazelnut Drive, Newark. Let's see. The 29 acres in question, located at the end of Maury Avenue. 19 of those acres are the pick and pull site. 10 of those acres are undeveloped transitional upland habitats. In the 1950s and 60s, when people started to dump their cars out there, and in 1965, when pick and pull formalized, we didn't think much about our baylands, right? We put landfills out there, we put auto wrecking yards out there. We've learned something, we hope, since that time. The lands in Newark west of the Union Pacific Railroad are all in the 100-year FEMA floodplain. The 29-acre site that's in question tonight is surrounded by channels on 3 sides. Line B comes down along Maury and wraps around the back and dumps into Maury Slough, which flows to San Francisco Bay. Line D comes down along the south side of the property and also joins Maury Slough and flows to the bay. This winter, Line D overtopped and flooded onto the lands directly adjacent to the 29-acre site. With sea level rise and groundwater rise being precipitated by that, all of that land is going to be subject to early onset impacts of climate change. Groundwater is going to rise. It's already rising in my neighborhood. There's new mapping out on it that shows how susceptible the entire Area 4 region is. So the mitigation is to elevate that site, but there's no mitigation to elevate Maury Avenue. It will remain at about 9 feet. So it is effectively creating an island out there. It's an island that's only available, its only access is by one street. One street with railroad tracks and the Newark switching yard. Trains are often stopped crossing that yard. In addition, there are 3 planning documents that are out that consider improvements in that area that are not addressed in the DEIR. They include the Capital Corridor South Bay Connect study, which looks to realign Capital Corridor from San Jose to Oakland through that particular route. It includes the Alviso Wetland Railroad Adaptation Study that looks at the line from Santa Clara to Newark, which recognizes that the train tracks, particularly in the South Bay, will be flooded and will need to be raised and may need to be raised all the way through Newark, increasing the height of the railroad tracks. Those studies also look at double tracking and triple tracking in that area. And finally, the 2040 California Rail Plan. If those plans go into effect, you could have 2 or 3 tracks there where you have 1 now plus the switching yard, and they anticipate passenger travel would occur every 30 minutes, and freight traffic would add to that. All of us who live in Newark know what it's like to get stuck behind the trains. What we don't know for most of us is what it means to dial 911 and have a family member having a heart attack and not having medical personnel able to get to you. One access in and out of that site doesn't meet that. One access, that'll be the first thing to be flooded at a lower elevation than the homes, doesn't provide a safe area. We just saw that in Cathedral City in Palm Springs. What flooded first? The roads. People couldn't get out. Oh my goodness. All right. If Newark wanted to take a proactive approach, Newark could decide to participate in the 30 by 30 plan adopted by Governor Newsom and on the federal side by President Biden. That plan attempts to preserve 30% of our lands, restore and preserve 30% of our lands by 2030. Why? Because we need to protect our lands in order to sequester carbon. And marshes, restored marshes, sequester more carbon than most forests. Newark needs to be looking at a different way. So I would recommend that you do not approve this project. There are many other places internal to the city to place it, and I would be happy to help the city write grants to build a fabulous Magical Bridgeway Park at Birch Park, and to help the BMX riders find a home at Sportsfield Park. Those things can move ahead without filling our baylands. Thanks for your time again.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else on the draft EIR? Seeing not.
Chair
I'll
Fitz,
close.
Chair Fitz, we do have a member of the public participating via Zoom. However, we are having some difficulties with the Zoom communication tonight. So we are going to ask.
So we do have somebody
Yes.
wants to communicate on Zoom?
Right.
Okay.
So we're going to attempt to do that. We may not be able to hear him because of the Zoom connection.
Okay.
If not, then we will contact that person to make sure that the comments that they'd like to provide are included in the public record.
Great.
For this. So with this, we will ask if Mr. Mirante would like to speak. You are, you can unmute yourself and you have 5 minutes.
Wonderful. Can you hear me? Am I
Yeah.
coming through?
Yes, we can now. Thank you. We can hear you now. You can begin speaking.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can now. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, there's significant delay. Sorry, the audio is still not coming through on the Zoom, but it seems like it's coming through on YouTube, which is where I'm listening to it. So hopefully you can hear me. I'll make my comments brief, and I appreciate your tech people trying to resolve my Zoom issues here so that I can make a comment. My name is Louis Morante. I'm the Vice President of Public Policy for the Bay Area Council, which represents about 330 of the Bay Area's largest employers. I'm here tonight in support of staff's recommendation to approve the EIR for this project, or sorry, I'm here in support of the EIR for this project and the project generally, in large part because I think this is exactly the type of housing that we need. The Bay Area, as you all know, is facing an immense crisis when it comes to housing and homelessness, and that's being driven by a lack of supply. Especially acute is our shortage of homeownership options. I'd love to be able to afford to buy in the Bay Area, as would many in my generation, and projects like these are exactly what we need to make that possible. The project's alternatives, which consider moving the project or another site, I think meet the requirements of CEQA, but elide the fact that the real alternative to projects like these are projects that are deeper in the Central Valley, much further away from the Bay Area than projects considered as alternatives for this project. An increasing number of Bay Area residents, rather people who work in the Bay Area, are super commuters, even post-pandemic. About 3 to 5% of employees in the Bay Area commute more than 2 hours in one direction, and that's largely because they can't afford to buy or rent a house in the Bay Area. Projects like these help solve both those environmental problems, but make us the region that can compete with places like Austin, where young people can buy homes. So I strongly urge you to support this project when the time is right, and would welcome any questions about my comments, maybe through another more functional alternative. But again, my appreciation to your staff for trying to fix the Zoom here.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else on Zoom?
We do. We have Mr. Flores. Mr. Flores, if you're able to hear us, you may unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Great. Great, thank you. This is Victor Flores, East Bay Resilience Manager for Greenbelt Alliance. Just want to say thank you for taking the opportunity to allow us to provide comment. We are a 65-year-old advocacy nonprofit that protects open space, advocates for climate resilience infrastructure, and infill housing. Although this is an informational item, we do want to express our opposition to this project, given that it is zoned for park space. It is not near transit. It is all single-family home with a lot of private vehicle parking. So losing this land that could be used for park space and in addition could be used for resilience measures, I think is an opportunity we can't miss. Our organization has identified that this area of Newark is a resilience hotspot, so we need to do everything that we can to implement that resilient infrastructure because it'll impact not only immediately, but long-term Newark and the region as a whole. So I just want to thank you again and look forward to continuing these conversations when the time is appropriate. Goodbye.
Thank you for your comments.
We have one additional speaker on Zoom. That is Liz Ames. Ms. Ames, if you're able to hear us, please unmute yourself and begin your comments.
Is it like this for city council?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, this is Liz Ames. I hope you can hear me. I'm one of your art directors. I'm also a member of Tri-City Ecology Center. I'm the vice chair. And I am not supportive of this project simply because we need a climate adaptation strategy for the Southern Alameda County area. I've noticed an encroachment of homes and buildings closer to the shoreline. And when we have predictions of 7 to 10 feet of sea level rise in 2100, roughly 75 years from now, when we have that condition, we need to develop space for the water to move inland and to create a new shoreline and habitat. So if you can imagine 10 feet of sea level rise and a 10 to 12 foot building pad, you really are not allowing any space for the habitat or the ecosystem to thrive. So I hope that the commission and that the city council view this very carefully. We do need a holistic plan, and I hope that the city of Newark decides to keep this land as open space and focus housing at the new Park Mall site, which is fantastic to see. There's other areas of infill like downtown Newark, Old Town, and I appreciate all of your due diligence on this matter, and please do not build housing on this site. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
We have two other speakers, Chair Fitz. The next speaker would be Danny Zaki. You may unmute yourself and begin your comments.
Hi, my name is Danny Zaki, and I work with the San Francisco Bay Chapter of Sierra Club. Just want to voice our opinion on this matter and say that we do not support this project. We do recognize that there is a great need for housing in our communities. But what's more important is that this is sustainable housing and housing that promotes equitable access. And, you know, green space and open space is a really big priority to our organization. It's important to communities, and we would like to support this staying open space. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker will be O. Lee. You may unmute yourself and begin your comments. Oh, Lee, we are unable to hear you. You may unmute and begin your comments. Okay, we will come back to Oh, Lee and move to an additional commenter, Nick Valencia. Mr. Valencia, you may unmute yourself and begin your comments.
Hello, this is Nick Valencia, a longtime Newark resident. Just phoning in to give my support for this project. In hearing a lot of the comments, sometimes I think we kind of lose sight on what that land is that's out there. I do hear a lot of the pleas for the conservation side of it. Newark, I mean, we're blessed to have quite a bit of wetland space that's out there. But I think over the last 10, 15, 20 years, I think everybody will kind of echo the sentiment that real estate housing is only going to be more and more kind of a pinch and a pressure, as Newark's kind of in a unique space with a lot of biotech, a lot of manufacturing that goes along there. So I think it's important to try to balance the needs of the community and the city, kind of get a lot of that tax revenue and things like that, and then allow people, a lot of people in my demographic and my age range to kind of get the opportunity to get some housing, because a lot of the big problems right now is there's just not enough inventory that's out there. And I personally don't think that that's going to be slowing down anytime soon. I've kind of looked over the development. I like a lot of the key different features, a lot of the park space that they're looking at putting in, and kind of helping out the city, kind of get a little of the local parks, a little upgrades in infrastructure and things like that. So yeah, I'm definitely in support of the project, and look forward to seeing where it goes from here.
Great, thank you for your comments.
We will return to Al Lee and provide an opportunity for Al Lee to speak this evening. You may unmute yourself and begin your comments. We don't seem to have any oral comments from Al Lee this evening. However, we do have a text message that she sent over via Zoom. 2 questions. One, is there any plan for new schools? Unmute yourself and begin your comments.
Hi everyone, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello everyone, can you hear me? I already unmuted.
We don't seem to have any oral comments from Al Lee this evening. However, we do have a text message that she sent over via Zoom. 2 questions. One, is there any plan for new schools? Unmute yourself and begin your comments.
Hi everyone, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello everyone, can you hear me? I already unmuted.
Don't seem to have any oral comments from Al Lee this evening. However, we do have a text message that she sent over via Zoom. 2 questions. One, is there any plan for new schools? Unmute yourself and begin your comments.
Hi everyone, can you hear me now?
Yes. Let's see.
Hello everyone.
Yes, we're
Can
trying.
you hear me? I already unmuted.
Have oral comments. We do have. Okay. Via Zoom. 2 questions. One, is there? Okay, that's very strange to be hearing myself multiple times. I kind of wish sometimes I could go back in time and change some things. At any rate, we will go ahead and collect her comments. We do have some text comments from her. Make sure that those are part of the record tonight. With that, there's no other speakers via Zoom.
No other speakers on Zoom?
Correct.
Anyone else in the audience wanted to comment before I close the public hearing on this item? Seeing not, we'll close the public hearing. I believe that is the only order of business we receive public input. Yes?
Chairman, we would just like to clarify one comment that was made. I'll ask our consultant to come up regarding the Maori Village, Maori Road comment. Is that correct?
I have 4 I would like to clarify, and then if there's an additional, happy to help clarify.
Okay. Sounds good.
So the first one, a commenter spoke about the alternative location alternative that was considered but rejected. So I apologize for my communication. I want to just clarify that the alternative location would need to be within the city of Newark, so not in another city within the Bay Area or the Valley. There was a comment regarding a request to look at cumulative impacts. So cumulative impacts for all 20 environmental resources are presented in Chapter 4, and specifically for transportation, which is where VMT falls under, vehicle miles traveled. That's transportation section 4.5.17. The community benefits shared tonight, I would just, that were shared by the public during public comment, just want to clarify that those are not currently part of the proposed project, so therefore are not currently part of the CEQA document. If they do become part of the project, we'd need to reevaluate the CEQA potentially. And then lastly, just want to clarify that based on a public comment that the project site is not located in a wetlands subject to Army Corps, Water Quality Board, or CDFW jurisdiction. And that's in the biology section of the report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion?
That's it.
That's it?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, good. Yes, would you like to make a comment? Yes, come forward and just, yeah, it actually really did, it's, consider the public hearing open again. I didn't really close it, but it's cool. Yes, state your name.
Hi, my name is Arman Singh Randhawa, and I usually go to this pick and pull down the street, but for as long as I've seen that this project, like I'm in support of it because we really have no housing out here because I'm from San Jose and I work for Valley Transportation Authority, VTA, and I see a lot of people commuting from the Central Valley, saying Modesto or all of these cities down like south towards Fresno from Sacramento, they're all commuting all the way to San Jose. But if you guys open up like more opportunities, like more housing, like you're saying in the 29 acres, 30 acres, right? So if you guys open it up, that will help us a lot too. Like, plus we have, there's a lot of struggle because like you see like traffic going up and down, commuting is a problem too. So if you would have like something like this, like a project, it'd be an opportunity for some new home buyers and previous home buyers just to buy a house out here and make commuting for them easily, and plus to build a future with the kids out here, as they were saying with the BMX parks. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your comments. Anyone else? The public hearing is still open. We're here to receive input. Okay, going once, going twice.
Are you offering them to the commission again?
What's that?
Are you offering the ability to comment, or are we going to?
Oh, yeah, no, if the commission,
After you close the public hearing?
if you would like to comment during the public hearing portion, you can.
Okay. I will make a comment.
Okay, great.
Remaining open. I said this before, because it made it into the EIR as a comment. But I do have concerns about access to that site. There is only one way in and out of there via vehicle, an emergency vehicle, and that is over those tracks. And while there's going to be improvements made to them, it still is a concern that, you know, there's a lot of train traffic there. And when a train is crossing, there's no ability for people to access that site. I know there's an emergency vehicle access plan for the site, but that does not help the individuals that are actually living on that site. So it's still a concern. It was not addressed, I thought, in my opinion, adequately in the EIR. So that's my my comment. And then I have just basically a question. The consultant actually anticipated, I think, what I was going to ask, but I didn't read anything about BMX parks, anything about this magical bridge playground, anything regarding this affordable housing component. I didn't hear about that, frankly, until today. The city is currently in the process of working on a parks master plan revision, and it would seem to me that would be the more appropriate place for that to be included. And frankly, I was a little concerned that these benefits came up kind of in the 11th hour prior to this meeting. So just I wanted to be on record as stating that as well.
Great. Any other comments? Okay.
Question
Yes, Commissioner.
So in the circumstance where the comment, Commissioner Becker here and consultant mentioned the current EIR does not address the community benefits that were brought up today, what happens? So if the project now pivots and has these community benefits, what does that do to the EIR? What are the next steps from there?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Aguilar. In terms of some of the community benefits that were discussed by the applicant's team, that's something that has not been formally submitted to the city as a change to their application. So whenever they decide to do that, then it'll be evaluated formally, and then we'll decide kind of what the changes to the CEQA process are, if any, and go from there. But it hasn't been formally submitted, so we haven't really analyzed or reviewed it yet. So when that time comes, then we'll do that, and then we'll proceed. But right now, it's not part of the consideration for tonight. It's the report that was already written, the draft EIR, and so the comments are directly for that report.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good points. Anyone else? No? Okay, I think that everyone's had a chance to speak their mind, and I think that the public hearing is now closed. And the next step would be, there'll be some more, when will the final document for the EIR be completed? Or the next steps?
Give me 1 second, let me just. Pull up the slide here that our consultant presented. So here's kind of the next steps. As you mentioned, we'll go into the review of the final EIR, and there's still going to be another period of public review, which shows us a 10-day public review, and then after that, it'll get certified at the public hearing. So in terms of any changes to the application at this point, that will have to be discussed internally with the applicant. And then we will notify the Planning Commission how that would work at a future time.
Good.
Okay.
All right, so I think that's all we have on the public hearings, and the commission matters would be, under item, so item number E1 is complete. Item F would be staff reports. Any additional staff reports?
No staff reports this evening.
Yeah. And item number G is commission matters, report on city council actions.
Thank you, Chair Fetz. City Council is on their well-deserved August recess, so there's no matters to discuss.
They're off this, pretty good
council.
racket they have. Yes. Take a month off. That's good. And H is planning commissioner comments. Any planning commissioner comments? Nothing this evening? If not, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for all attending.
Thank you.
Record.